Joseph Stalin killed without number. Millions died from his war crimes, his terror, his man-made famine. So why in the 21st century is he making a comeback?
Long live Stalin!
Stalin murdered sleep. People dreaded the knock on the door in the middle of the night. What followed was terror, torture, an icy living death in the gulag, or 9 grams of lead in the back of the neck. But it's not just a nightmare. There are people in Russia who are trying to rehabilitate one of the great tyrants of the 20th century, and in some places it seems to be working. Like here, in this place, the very room where Joseph Stalin used to sleep. Welcome to Stalin's old holiday villa on Russia's Black Sea, now a Stalin-themed hotel. No, I'm not making this up. Tea with a tyrant?
Thank you. Cheers.
Don't mind if I do. Stalin was probably responsible for more deaths than Hitler. Can you imagine an Adolf-themed hotel in Germany? Of course not. But a Stalin hotel here feels no more eccentric than an Elvis motel in Memphis. Many Russians would say, why can't we have a hotel honouring the greatest leader that ever lived? It's tucked away in the woods behind the la-di-da resort of Sochi. It's not just Joseph Stalin who had a thing about Sochi. The rich and powerful in Russia have been coming here for generations. So it's no surprise that Vladimir Putin, who many consider to be the most powerful man in Russia, has a summer place here too. And this is a story about Putin as well as Stalin. The Kremlin's critics say that Putin is following in Uncle Joe's goose steps. He's brought back Stalin hits like this, the old Soviet national anthem. Also back, military parades on Red Square, tanks for the memory. Russia has a thing about strong men, then and now. But it's much more troubling than that. The charge that under Putin history is being rewritten, bigging up Stalin, the great leader, and smudging, even airbrushing his crimes against humanity. That Russia's children are being told half-truths about their past. Stalin survived in power for 3 decades because of terror and lies and the faking of history. In the 21st century, can we detect an echo of the way Stalin ruled Russia? I'm following in the footsteps of the dictator and his victims around the former Soviet Union to try and find out. Not the real thing, of course, but a look-alike. He's up for weddings, funerals, the occasional bar mitzvah in his native Georgia, Stalin's birthplace. Antony, Georgia, just to the south of mighty Russia, is the first stop on my journey. My look-alike chum claims Stalin's reputation still holds good here. In other parts of the former Soviet Union, they may be worrying about Joseph Stalin returning, but not here, he says.
On high days and holidays, all the communists and Stalinists of Gori get together. On the leader's birthday and the day when he died, we are joined by people from all over Georgia. On these occasions, I dress up as Stalin, and everybody in the crowd is glad to see me.
And he says that ordinary people like Stalin too.
Sometimes people invite me to wedding ceremonies and I get standing ovations when I appear.
So you walk through the market, yeah? Just in case I don't believe him,
and it's usually not wise to disagree with a dictator, he says he can prove it. So how do people in a local market in Georgia react to Joseph Stalin in 2009?
Long live Stalin!
It's just like a royal visit.
I was pretty sceptical about Stalin. I think, frankly, that people might think he's a bit of a nutter. But I was wrong about that. More than enough people have come up to him, shaken his hand, somebody's offered him roses. The spell of Joseph Stalin in this part of the old Soviet Union still has clout. He's still popular. Stalin's family was poor. His father was a drunken cobbler who used to beat him up. He was born in the Georgian town of Gori, in this very shack. And look, they've turned it into a shrine.
To many across the former Soviet Union, Stalinism isn't a dead branch of communism, but a living cult. Gori, one of the last places on earth where you can find a statue of the tyrant. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. It's odd that he's still up there, because for 3 decades Stalin ruled this place from Russia. Georgia took on Russia in a brief war and got a bloody nose. There's a move to knock Uncle Joe off his perch. But these chaps from the Joseph Stalin Appreciation Society don't agree.
Why should it stay?
He's our leader and he was born here. His statue should stay in the centre of Gori. Nobody should touch it.
What do you think, sir?
He was really important for the world. He dedicated his whole life to people so that everyone could be equal. So that the parasites, like capitalists, the rich merchants and the landowners, wouldn't suck the blood of the rest of us.
But there are people in the West, and in Russia, and in Georgia, who say Stalin is a bad man. So why are you having a statue to a mass murderer?
The Great Terror never happened. How would it be possible to execute millions of people and then win the war? Why would people fight and die for Stalin if their family members were deported and killed? It's just not logical, it's absurd.
The problem, as ever with history, is which bits do you leave in and which do you leave out? The Stalin Museum in Gori has solved that problem by leaving things pretty much as they were when the old monster died. The museum is a relic of Stalin's past, frozen in time.
So the museum was opened in 1957, the last exhibition was put in 79, and everything you see is as it was during that time, from that period. Nothing is changed.
Here you get Stalin's version of the Stalin story. How the young revolutionary became a Marxist-Leninist, robbed banks to raise money for the Bolsheviks, helped overthrow the Tsar, and then he became father of the nation for 3 decades, until his death in 1953.
So here we have desk which Stalin used in Kremlin from 1918 up to 1922. That's original furniture, only armchair is restored, and there is also his original marshal's coat worn by Stalin.
He was the Vozhd, the chief, who smashed Nazi Germany, one of the big 3, along with Churchill and Roosevelt, who sat down at Yalta and made the Soviet Union a superpower.
Stalin's death mask. Now, like that, he just looks like somebody's uncle. But in life, that man generated terror. People were so afraid of him that his staff used to keep cleaning materials, because in his presence, people would soil themselves.
The museum now boasts an entire new section on Stalin's bad bits. Have they built an extension?
Now I will point to the material which we added last year. Here you see photos of the persons which conducted the repressions in 1937, and later almost all of them were liquidated. Yeah.
Is that it? This seems to rather understate Stalin's charge sheet. After all, some historians think he's got the blood of 20 million people on his hands. You won't find much about that in this museum. But the museum director has different priorities.
Surely it's a bit embarrassing that Georgia's most famous son is a man who many people believe killed 20 million people.
Some people think that Stalin was a genius, others think of him as a tyrant, and for others, he was an enigma.
What do you think?
I think about how to attract as many tourists as possible.
Yeah, I know, but that's what you think as the boss, because that's your job. But as a human being, do you think that Stalin was a good man, a good leader for the Soviet Union?
Stalin was a phenomenon, still unknown and yet undefined.
The generation that lived through what Stalin got up to is dying out.